officers, members of the public and anyone watching at home on YouTube to this evening's meeting of the Council. There is no fire drill planned for this evening, so if the fire alarm goes, please make your way from the chamber using the exits and meet in the car park. And can you please make sure your mobile phones are switched off or on silent? Miss Willis, may I have any apologies for absence?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've received apologies from Councillor Lisa Finan-Cook, Councillor Leanne McIntyre, Councillor Sashi Marvaganam, and Councillor Jonathan Quinn is joining the meeting virtually.
Yeah. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Can I just offer apologies for Councillor Lee? A P1 incident has occurred that he needs to deal with this evening. Sorry.
Thank you. I can also inform you that there is a member will have to leave at 9 o'clock. So hopefully we'll be finished by then. That's a target for us all, I think. Item 2, minutes of the previous meeting. Propose that the minutes of the annual meeting of the Council held on the 13th of May 2026, which have been circulated, and the extraordinary meetings on the 16th of June 2026 be approved as a correct record. Do I have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to second that motion.
Thank you. Is that agreed, members? Okay, let's sign the minutes. We'll sign the minutes afterwards. Item 3, declarations of interest. Do any members have any disclosable pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest in relation to the items being discussed this morning? Councillor Wilson, you were first up this time.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a non-pecuniary interest. I'm a member of Windlesham Parish Council and I wrote a letter requesting the CGR mentioned later in the agenda about 2 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you. I'm also a member in the West Surrey Council. I'll be recusing myself from the item referring to the corporate governance review so I can take part in the debate in another place. I also refer to my interest in connection with the registered interest in connection with the public questions in today's meeting. Thank you.
Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mayor. I am also a Windlesham Parish Councillor, and along with Richard Wilson, I was one of the co-signatories of the letter that requested the CGR.
Councillor Gordon.
I'm also a Windlesham Parish Councillor.
Councillor White.
I'm also a member of Windlesham Parish Council.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Councillor McGrath.
Just to say that I was a signatory on that as well when I was a parish councillor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ashbury.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think it's particularly relevant, but I declare anyway, I am a member of the LGPS scheme through a different employment.
Any others? Councillor Carey.
Thank you, Chair. Item 9, I'm a pension committee member on the Surrey LGPS.
Thank you. All done? Excellent. Item 4. I'm advised that there are 3 questions received from members of the public under Rule 10. I'll take questions in the order in which they were received. Mr. Cunningham, would you like to come to the microphone and read out your question?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. The proposed relocation site for Frimley Park Hospital is very close to 5, in fact 6 local schools, an area which already suffers from numerous rat runs, vehicle idling pollution and chaotic parking at pick-up and drop-off times. I know as a local resident and school governor that's the case. Due to road safety concerns for pupils, There are already traffic calming measures in place around the schools, and in 2022, Surrey County Council published a detailed report on the road safety issues, proposing features such as additional pedestrian lights. As the planned development brings thousands of construction HGV trips, if it goes ahead, hundreds of thousands more vehicle movements in operation each year, including high-speed ambulance and car transfers, are the Council aware of studies looking at the projected airborne pollution, health impacts, as well as forecast collisions, injuries, fatalities involving local children and young people caused by the hospital's proposed move? There have already been 3 road traffic accidents involving injury to school pupils, one of whom had to be helicoptered to St George's in London.
Thank you, Mr Cunningham. I've been advised that Councillor Ashbury, Built Environment and Regulation Portfolio Holder, will respond. Councillor Ashbury.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr Cunningham. Surrey County Council have recently proposed a highway improvement scheme on Old Bisley Road, including traffic calming measures to support sustainable travel to local schools. However, following consultation, it has decided not to progress this proposal in its original form, and we are awaiting further updates. In terms of studies, Council is aware of a number of cumulative assessments which have been undertaken to support the development of our new local plan, including a highways assessment, a strategic environmental assessment. However, this did not include any consideration for the preferred hospital site, which was not announced until the local plan was in preparation. Any forthcoming application for the site would need to be supported by a number of assessments related to the important considerations raised above. These would have to include a health impact assessment, which examines the effect on public health, including air pollution, noise, physical activity and health inequalities. This is a requirement in the new local plan, due to be adopted later this year. And encouraged by Surrey County Council, developments which are likely to have significant health impacts. A transport assessment to assess traffic generation, capacity and road safety, which would also include a road safety audit, an air quality assessment and an environmental impact assessment to consider, amongst other things, significant effects on human health, traffic and air quality. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Would you like to have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury, for your response to the question. I'm also aware of the history of the planned traffic calming measures that weren't implemented, and I'm somewhat reassured by your advice that a variety of assessments will take place. However, given my 30 years' experience of the challenges of the traffic and so on and so forth, and as a governor of one of the schools, we met with the CEO of Frimley Park Hospital and the Deputy CEO on Monday of this week, all 6 schools that are on the Chobham Road and the Old Bisley Road. And I'm afraid the view of that group, which will go into print shortly, is this is the wrong site and we do not support it. I'd be interested on your assurance, Councillor Ashbury, whether these assessments in future, whether they're undertaken by the local authorities or by the hospital trust, will be performed in a comprehensive, robust and transparent manner across a range of seasons, times of day and conditions to fully examine these road safety, health pollution and traffic management issues. Because it was obvious from our meeting with Frimley Park Hospital, who've only done, quote, desk research to date, that they're determined to push through this proposed site. And despite the almost universal view of the schools, of the 3,000 pupils and over 15,000 local residents, that it's the wrong site. So I would like your assurance about the transparency of any assessment.
Thank you. Councillor Ashbury, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Mr Cunningham. I will say, first of all, I am aware of the correspondence, or some of the correspondence that has gone from the consortia of the schools to the hospital. So I am aware that you are working as a group to make sure your voices are heard. And I would encourage all local residents who have issues with the proposal to continue to engage with the planning process and with the proposed site. I have every confidence in the professional ability of the planning team of this council that all of those plans and assessments will be carried out correctly at the right time with the right information. And if not, they will then have to go back and be redone. So I am very confident in the ability of the officers of this council to carry out their job properly. Like you, I share concerns particularly about the traffic that will need to be mitigated as a result of this. Earlier this year, my wife and I had the opportunity to visit India. While we were in Jaipur, an ambulance was trying to get through the traffic at rush hour. We said to our taxi driver, what does that ambulance do at this time of day to get to a hospital? And he shrugged his shoulders and said, nothing. People die in ambulances because of traffic. We cannot allow that to happen in this instance, and I have every confidence that our officers will conduct the transport assessments and the other assessments necessary in accordance with the law to ensure that everything is taken into account. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury, and thank you, Mr Cunningham, for your question. Question 2 has been submitted on behalf of Heatherside Ward Residents Association. Ms Hibbard is, I believe, unable to attend, and Councillor Rakes is going to ask the question on her behalf.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm asking on behalf of Caroline Hibbard. The Frimley Fuel Allotments area is in part a Site of Nature Conservation Importance, or an SNCI, because of the range of wildlife in this important green space, including adders, badgers and bats. The buffer zone for the Thames Basin Heaths SPA covers part of the land of the Frimley Fuel Allotments. Both of those two important areas are in very close proximity to the preferred location of the new acute Frimley Park Hospital. Although the precise preferred location of such a large industrial scale commercial building is outside the 400-metre buffer zone, can the Council advise on whether the proximity of such a major development and the associated works adjacent to the SPA would have to be taken into account, along with the impact on the biodiversity of the site, particularly protected species, when making a planning decision on the use of the proposed site?
Thank you, Councillor Rakes. I've been advised that Councillor Ashbury is going to respond.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Rakes, for voicing the concerns of the Heatherside Ward Residents Association. Whilst the Council cannot prejudge an application, any forthcoming application of this nature would need to be supported by full and detailed ecological reports. As part of this, Natural England would need to be consulted, as well as our retained local ecologist, the Surrey Wildlife Trust. The Council would need to discharge all of its statutory duties in relation to nature conservation, protected species, biodiversity and environmental protection prior to determination. Whilst a proposal of this nature is unlikely to be considered to give rise to recreational disturbance on the Thames Basin Heath Special Protection Area, increased traffic generation could give rise to impacts related to atmospheric pollution. In addition, the proximity of the development to the Special Protection Area and other designated sites would require consideration of any other potential impact, pathways arising from the construction and operation of the development. As such, a development proposal of this nature would require a habitats regulation assessment, including an appropriate assessment supported by traffic and air quality modelling. With regard to the wider ecological considerations, any forthcoming development proposals would need to be considered against environmental policies in the National Planning Policy Framework and detailed requirements in the Surrey Heath Local Plan. This would currently include policy CP14A and CP14B of the core strategy. But once adopted, the detailed environmental protections in the new local plan would be given full weight in decision making. Notable designations that would need to be considered and ecological interests likely to require consideration include the Thames Basin Heath Special Protection Area, sites of special scientific interest, sites of nature conservation importance, biodiversity opportunity areas, and protected and priority species, including those identified through ecological surveys. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Councillor Rex, are you aware of any supplementary question?
Ms Hibbard did not have a supplementary question, but she did ask me to pass on her thanks for a very comprehensive and well-constructed answer which she saw earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 3. Ms Nairn, I see you're already seated. Please ask your question.
Thank you, Mayor. The Health and Care Act 2022 creates a legal duty to consider the effect health trust decisions to take into account health inequalities, which mean a significant difference in life outcomes. The data for Heatherside, adjacent to the planned site, shows that male residents have a life expectancy of 86.2 years and females of 90.6 years, whilst Camberley West has 79.5 and 82.5 years respectively. For those in Aldershot Park in the Frimley Trust area, it is 75.3 and 80.8 years. For emergency conditions, distance and time to reach a hospital matters. For non-emergency conditions, more difficult access can lead to poorer outcomes. Is the Council aware of any modelling done by Frimley Health Trust to understand the impact of moving its services to a location with more difficult access and less public transport?
Thank you, Ms Nairn. I've been advised that the Leader of the Council, Councillor MacDonald, is going to respond. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question. The Council notes with regret the health and wellbeing inequalities that exist within and outside the borough's borders and works in various multi-agency local place-based forums to play its part in reducing these for Surrey Heath residents. The Council knows, for example, a similar roughly 10-year life expectancy gap that exists across the A30 in the Old Dean ward. These are clearly regrettable. The specific legislation reference falls outside the scope of the Council's direct remit, apart from its participation in county-level Surrey and Sussex Integrated Care Partnerships and Surrey County Council's Health and Wellbeing Board, where the Leader of the Council, aka me, is one of 2 district and borough peer nominees, and as referenced, officer-led local place-based groups with other agencies. From these engagements and other contacts with the Frimley Park Hospital leadership team, the Council has not been aware of any modelling looking at the health inequality impacts as referred to in the question. It is noted that any forthcoming planning application would need to be supported by a number of detailed assessments related to site access and sustainability. This would include transport assessments to assess traffic generation, capacity and road safety. This assessment should also cover how people will travel to and from a site and whether the development can support a range of travel options. Health impact assessment, which examines effects on local public health, including air pollution, noise, physical activity and health inequalities. This is an additional requirement in the new local plan, due to be adopted later this year and encouraged by Surrey County Council for developments likely to have significant health impacts. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. After the deadline for questions for this meeting, the Health Trust issued a report detailing its site selection process and results. In the report, it stated that the initial site selection process included a 7% weighing for quality impact assessment. However, in its long list review, the list of criteria excludes a quality impact, despite the information I highlighted in my previous question. Does the Council know why this issue was not taken into account in the reappraisal of the long list?
Thank you. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Caelan, and for giving me advance warning of your supplementary, which has allowed me to generate a comprehensive response. Thank you again for taking the time to bring these concerns to the Council's attention on behalf of the disadvantaged by health inequalities in our community and beyond, which the Trust's own 2023-24 engagement exercise responses shows that they had excluded by the way they executed it. You have given the disadvantaged a voice that needs to be heard by the leadership of Frimley Health NHS Foundation Trust. However, it will be a struggle, and you will have to do more than shout, as only 3 out of the 17 board members appear to have a personal base in the locality serviced by the hospital, and perhaps 2 more within the wider area served by the Trust. It is therefore important that the Trust's executive and non-executive directors start to more clearly demonstrate local understanding, proper regard to their statutory duties, and meaningful engagement with the communities served by the hospital. A reasonable person could be left with a perception that it is being done to, rather than developed with, the local community, particularly given the way further information has continued to emerge into the public domain about inconsistencies in the site selection process. As you point out, the Health and Care Act 2022 firmly places the triple aim duty on the Trust, requiring them to have regard to improving the health and well-being of the people of England, improving the quality of services for individuals, and ensuring the sustainable and efficient use of NHS resources. Importantly, this duty must be exercised with regard to reducing inequalities in access to and outcomes from health services. Any decision that may disproportionately disadvantage lower-income communities, ethnic minority groups, those without private transport, or individuals with disabilities must therefore be demonstrably assessed against this statutory framework. In addition, under Section 149 of the Equality Act 2010, public bodies are subject to the public sector equality duty. This requires decision makers to have due regard to the need to eliminate discrimination, advance equality of opportunity, and foster good relationships between protected groups and others. This duty is not a tick-box exercise. It requires conscious, evidence-based consideration of how decisions affect protected groups, including on the grounds of race, disability, age, and socio-economic disadvantage, where linked to protected characteristics. Meaningful consultation is often central to demonstrating compliance. I am concerned that the engagement exercise undertaken to date does not appear sufficient to evidence compliance with these duties. For example, engagement relied predominantly on an online survey, disadvantaging those with low digital literacy or limited internet access. Approximately 94% of respondents were reported to be white, suggesting minority ethnic communities were not effectively reached. About 25% of the responses were from NHS staff, potentially skewing representation away from independent public voices. Pop-up engagement events were held during weekday working hours, excluding those working during the day. Locations, such as outside Waitrose and Marks and Spencer's, suggest an implicit socio-economic bias in the outreach. Population health data across the catchment area clearly demonstrates inequality, as you have commented on. Yet the engagement strategy did not appear to have systematically targeted communities with poorer outcomes. Without inclusive and proportionate engagement, it is difficult to see how the triple aim duty and the public sector equality duty can have been robustly satisfied. Furthermore, if the engagement process did not fully identify the current locations and scale of disadvantaged groups, or expressly consider the statutory duties owed to them before proposing site selection, it is understandable that the community would ask what holistic health and well-being impact modelling has been undertaken. That should include transport barriers, potential road safety implications from nearby residential roads and schools, and impacts during construction and operation, including loss of leisure, green space, noise and air pollution, including from the helicopters. It is rational to expect more vehicles and higher average speeds around 5 schools and 2,500 pupils, though Mr Cunningham seems to have upgraded that to 3,000, I'll yield to his better information, will lead to increased probability of severe injuries and fatalities, given lived experience to date. Have no mistake, people will get hurt as a function of this hospital and this location. The concern is that the Acute Trust appears to have focused too narrowly on its own operational requirements without giving sufficient weight to wider and holistic health and wellbeing impacts, infrastructure costs, the objectives of the Surrey and Sussex Integrated Care Partnership Strategy, the government's shift towards prevention and locality-based care, and the views of the local community it serves. It is deeply concerning that between 50 to 20 million of public taxpayer money will go from the NHS to buy out a lease with a private company owned by an Australian entrepreneur, and between 25 to 30 million to a charity that was set up to support vulnerable groups and given stewardship of this land in perpetuity by this council in good faith, neither of which appears to be value for the taxpayer. Let's not forget the property developer facilitating all of this in the background, who no doubt will get their cut of the 45 to 50 million, and no doubt further payments when the whole Frimley fuel allotment site is covered in brick and tarmac. A reasonable person would have thought preventing these excessive contingent liabilities to third parties was a role for the Charity Commission. However, it is not clear that these public interest questions have been addressed. Given this context and other information in the public domain about the assessment of the site long list, it is not surprising that many residents are concerned whether the Frimley fuel allotment site was approached selection of the Frimley fuel allotment site was approached with sufficient openness. As you highlight in your supplementary question, health inequalities appear to have been ranked low and then not visibly considered in the long list filtering. With over 16,677 people recorded as opposing this site selection locally, and with concerns also raised by around 6 boards and head teachers of adjacent schools, the local MP, this council, and potentially others, who knows, maybe the Treasury could be our new bestie, it is incumbent on the executive and non-executive board members at Frimley Health Foundation Trust to reflect carefully, engage properly, and consider whether phased redevelopment of the existing site with appropriate expansion into the adjacent MOD, publicly owned land, in a way that respects nearby historic assets, has been fully and fairly assessed. Thank you, Caitlin, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald, and thank you, Ms Nairn, for your question. Moving on, item 5, Mayor's announcements. That's me. This will be fairly short. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 previous mayors. You never told me it's going to be this busy. My deputy and I have been to care homes, we have been to schools, we have hosted events in this chamber, all of which Helen is putting on our website. If you're interested in the detail, you can go there and see the photographs. It is a non-political, apolitical job, and it is great fun, but very busy. I am sad to say that I will be the last mayor, but maybe something later on in the agenda might redress that. It's a good job, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Thank you for landing me with it. I wouldn't have it any other way. Item 6, leaders' announcements. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. Just give me 1 second, if you would, members. Thank you. Right, thank you. I'm afraid we're going old school. After having consolidated 2 machines into 1 machine, I've now found I can't print at Surrey Heath. Anyway, following the elections on the 7th of May, it feels like a lifetime ago, for me at least, I wanted to express my congratulations to those who now represent the area in the new West Surrey Shadow Authority. Equally, thank you to those who stood and were unsuccessful. It was a vigorous and respectful campaign from all parties, with democracy the winner overall, in a world where it is increasingly under threat. I'm sure members and myself would like to praise those responsible for organising such a well-executed and subsequently uneventful ballot and count, the Surrey Heath Democratic Services team, led by Rachel Willis, with the support of other officers from across the council, and those members of the public that come to help, who pulled together to deliver an efficient and well-conducted election. Thank you to you all. As you will see from today's agenda, that we are progressing with the outcomes from the Community Governance Review and convening a working group to oversee the disaggregation of Windlesham Parish Council to form Bagshot and Lightwater Council and the creation of a new Windlesham Village Council. The terms of reference will ensure that we all work harmoniously together towards making the changes that the residents of Windlesham requested. No doubt more of that later. Work has begun on the review of Surrey Heath's local plan, known by some as the new local plan, to ensure the borough meets new government planning requirements introduced in 2026. The review will shape how and where jobs, homes, infrastructure and community facilities are delivered up to 2044, while protecting the borough's character and environment. At the same time, the Council continues to progress the Surrey Heath Local Plan 2019-2038 through its final stages ahead of adoption later this year, subject to the Planning Inspector's report. Once adopted, that plan will carry full weight in planning decisions, while the new review ensures Surrey Heath remains compliant with the government's new planning system and plans effectively for the borough's long-term future. Last night at Executive, we considered the performance against last year's annual plan, which, despite the additional local government reorganisation demands placed on our scant officer resource, we continue to see strong performance against our objectives. With 15% of projects delayed or deferred due to LGR or matters outside of the Council's control, we still achieved a 78% delivery rate with 9% of projects ongoing. Equally, performance against our KPIs has also remained incredibly strong, even moving up the top 10 by one place for national recycling performance. Something I know Councillor Rise is very happy about. Members will also note the really strong Q3 financial outturn status, which confirms, due to the strong actions taken by this administration to transform and control costs, as well as some prudent budgeting, we will now run out of reserves to bail out the historic, horrific property purchases by the end of 2027-28 financial year. That's approximately 5 months later than we thought possible when completing the budget cycle. My thanks go to all of our officers who deliver so much for our borough and have been through a challenging time to transform and are now facing into the change of LGR with great spirit, evidenced by low turnover, grievances and absence, supported by our dedicated leadership team under Nick Stevens. We all acknowledge there are doubtless benefits, though I admit to struggling to hold on to that vision at the moment, both for residents and financially from local government reorganisation in Surrey. However, we must also celebrate and remember the history and achievements of Surrey Heath Borough Council, its members, its officers and its residents. Our communications team have produced a series of short films, with the first marking Surrey Heath's heritage and our history, hosted by our very own Mayor, Councillor Betton, the Mayor of Surrey Heath. Watch this space for more videos celebrating all that is wonderful about the Council and the Borough over the past and present. We also want to go out with one final celebration, with the Mayor working with officers to plan our last hurrah to Surrey Heath to end well with all community stakeholders. On to property matters, and the Executive has approved further measures to advance the preparation of the London roadblock, following the successful demolition on time and below budget of the asbestos-ridden former Alders department store in the spring. Let's all keep our fingers crossed that we get a break and some support from a developer to start its improvement soon. Last month, the ballot for the Camberley Business Improvement District took place. Although I am a bit frustrated, the portfolio holder didn't tell me the result, by the way. But I now know what it is.
Everyone got an email.
I haven't read it yet. Based with an 80... our congratulations go to Collectively Camberley, who successfully secured a fourth term with an 85 yes voted based on businesses voting and a very significant 94% based on the herediment. I would like to congratulate Steve Coburn and the Collectively Camberley Bid Board on another 5 years supporting our town centre businesses and making Camberley Town Centre a brighter, busier and more beautiful town to visit and shop. Members may be surprised to know that since August last year, the Council has committed £1,792,510 of SIL funds to infrastructure improvements and community projects across the borough, and the latest round of community infrastructure funding is now open, closing on the 10th of August. The Council is delighted to see such strong interest in this round of funding, though the executive is dreading having to decide between them. If you have a project that could enhance your local community, I'd encourage you to take a look and submit an application before the deadline. Ending today by highlighting the excellent partnership working being carried out by our enforcement team, who actually were in this chamber last night from memory for the executive meeting, or some of them. Recent joint initiatives have included operations with Surrey Police to monitor HGV weight restrictions in Windlesham Village, collaborative investigations with Surrey Police, the Environment Agency and Surrey County Council into alleged waste offences, and work with Joint Waste Solutions to improve waste arrangements at the Kalima Traveller site. The team has also worked with Accent Housing on an antisocial behaviour drop-in session in Camberley and a community litter pick at Crabtree Park. These are great examples of agencies working together to keep our communities safe, clean and well supported. Thank you again to all the council staff for your work supporting residents through this period of uncertainty and change. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Just on a minor point of what you said, I'm already booked in to do the next film, so it's The Secret Tunnels. Item 7, Executive Committees and Other Bodies. Executive Minutes. Can I have a proposer for the executive minutes?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose those minutes. Oh, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose those minutes.
Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second those minutes.
Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? Planning Applications Committee. Can I have a proposer for the Planning Application Committee minutes, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose those minutes.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to second those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? Oh, wrong button. Performance and Finance Scrutiny Committee. Can I have a proposer for the PNF minutes, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose the minutes for the PNF meeting for the 15th of April and the 8th of July.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Do you have a seconder?
Yes, I'm happy to second those two meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kane. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? Thank you. Audit standards and risk. Members, I've been advised that the audit standards and risk minutes are still being drafted, so will be brought to the next meeting. Can I have a proposer for the AS&R minutes for the 24th of March and the 20th of May?
Thank you. I'd like to propose those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Cope.
I'm happy to second those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Rakes. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? External Partnerships Select Committee. External Partnership. Can I have a proposer for the External Partnerships Select Committee minutes?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor Hough. Do you have a second?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to propose those.
Thank you, Councillor Kang. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? Thank you. Employment Committee. Can I have a proposer for the Employment Committee minutes?
Happy to propose the Employment Committee meetings for the 2nd of April and 2nd of July. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Councillor Whitcroft. Do you have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hode. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? Licensing Committee. Can I have a proposer for the Licensing Committee minutes?
I'm happy to propose those.
Thank you, Councillor Rakes. Do you have a seconder?
Yes, I'm happy to second those.
Thank you, Councillor Kang. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? Joint Staff Consultative Group. Can I have a proposer for the minutes of the Joint Staff Consultative Group on the 12th of March and the 18th of June?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to propose those notes for those dates.
Thank you, Councillor Glout. Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second those minutes.
Thank you, Councillor White. Members, are you happy to receive those minutes? That concludes the minutes. Thank you very much. Item 8.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Just with regards to the minutes, and do correct me if I'm wrong, under it's the recommendation under 34/EC, which wasn't directly addressed within the minutes. I'm just wondering if we do need to take a vote on those.
Recommendation in relation to the Employment Committee, which already is correct. Employment Committee minutes and recommendation. Can I have a recommendation for the minute of 34EC? So you just need to confirm whether members are happy that that was proposed and seconded and they're in agreement with the recommendation.
Can I have a notification that you're happy with the noting of the decision that was taken? Agreed to the recommendation of 34EC. Thank you. Item 8, Charter Trustees. I would like to invite the Chief Executive to introduce the report on Charter Trustees. Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, my thanks go to Ms Boateng and Ms Willis for their involvement in preparing this paper. The paper before you has been developed following a request from the Ministry of Housing, Community and Local Government regarding the introduction of Charter Trustees. The Structural Changes Order for Surrey abolishes the County Council and the 11 districts and boroughs in Surrey and forms the two new shadow authorities, or the two new successor authorities, as we are acutely aware. There is a slight irregularity with the legislation because it did not include requirements for the creation of charter trustees. As a consequence of this, MHCLG have written to districts and boroughs and asked us whether or not we have an intention or a desire for charter trustees to be implemented within our existing borough areas. I think it's already been recognised that here at Surrey Heath we value the important role that our mayors and deputy mayors have and have had within our community, and we hold our mayors and deputy mayors in great esteem. Charter trustees would essentially be West Surrey Council councillors from within the shadow authority wards covering Surrey Heath. I would draw your attention to paragraphs 1.8 and 1.9 of the report. It's probably fair to say, and Ms Boateng will agree with me, that the legislation relating to charter trustees isn't exactly clear, easy to interpret or to understand. I think in truth it's as clear as mud. So we've had to take learnings from other authorities where charter trustees exist in terms of understanding their context and their scope. As a consequence, we do not feel that 1.8 and 1.9 within the report are entirely correct. Our current understanding is actually that the charter trustees would cover all wards within the borough and not just be related to the unparished areas. And as a consequence, that would mean that the Mayor of Surrey Heath would essentially cover the historic borough of Surrey Heath in its entirety. As I said, the Charter Trustees would essentially be all 18 councillors from the 9 wards across the borough if adopted, and the report also identifies that a precept could be applied to all areas after the first year. In relation to the establishment of Charter Trustees, the only way in which you could ensure or secure the civic responsibilities such as the presence of a Mayor for Surrey Heath would be through a petition presented to the Crown. And essentially what that means is if the council was minded not to agree to Charter Trustees and request that by way of order through MHCLG, the only way that the mayor could be reinstated or continue for Surrey Heath would be through a petition to the Crown. Subject to agreement by this council, we propose to write to MHCLG requesting that a Section 7 order under the Local Government and Public Involvement in Health Act 2007 is created. The recommendation is on the screen before you, and officers would welcome any questions you may have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Members, I'd like to invite comments on the report and ask for a member to move a motion in respect of the report. Councillor Cash.
Yes, I'm happy to move this motion.
Do you have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Noble. Any other member wish to speak? Councillor Rise.
It's a question for the Chief Executive, just under 1.10 within the report. And it says under the Regulations 2009 that Charter Trustees are automatically the councillors elected for an area. Do the regulations provide other examples of how a Charter Trustee could be appointed? Or is it only elected representatives could only ever be... Because the word automatically suggests that there are other conditions where a Charter Trustee could be appointed. For example, a non-elected person within the borough.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Rise. Our understanding is that the Charter Trustees is an automatic appointment as a councillor for the wards within the Surrey Heath area. If Charter Trustees were adopted through an order, all councillors serving West Surrey Council within the 9 wards within Surrey Heath would become Charter Trustees. From within those Charter Trustees, a Mayor and Deputy Mayor would then be appointed.
Thank you. Councillor Cope.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I want to say I do agree with a lot of the comments here that mayors do great work. I think they're particularly important in supporting local charities. But I do think there are problems with this proposal. And the main problem is around the precept. Because this opens the door for what is effectively a new tax. And it is a new tax that we, as members, have no mandate to introduce. We had elections a couple of months ago. I don't remember anyone standing on the basis that they were going to introduce a precept, a new tax on local people in Camberley and wider Surrey Heath. Now, we might say, okay, at the moment it's projected it might only be £2 or £4 after the first year. But my experience of taxes is that they have a habit of only going in one direction, and that is up. I'm really worried that this creates an avenue by which people can look to squeeze more money out of residents for something that is currently funded in their existing council tax. So we are basically giving an ability for people to go out and get money for something that's already currently funded through council tax. I can't support that. I was interested to hear the Chief Executive's comments that there is an alternative route of petitioning, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, how that might work, and whether that might be a way that we can avoid the creation of an ability to set precepts, which I just don't think we have a mandate for at all.
Thank you, Councillor Cope. Do you want to respond?
Yes, Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cope. Yes, the legislation does permit Charter Trustees to apply a precept after year 1. That is absolutely true. What I would highlight is that the budget for next financial year that's being prepared by West Surrey Council assumes a continuation of all services from the districts and boroughs as they aggregate across into West Surrey, and therefore the budgets that currently exist in relation to the mayoral assistant would transfer across and are already being accounted for. That's as straightforward an answer as I can give you, Councillor Cope. It would be for the Charter Trustees and ultimately West Surrey Council to determine whether they wanted to apply a precept or not, and the level of that precept. Logically, as we move into West Surrey Council, there will be transformation that will take place and there will be efficiencies that West Surrey Council will look to achieve, and that could mean that the costs in relation to civic responsibilities will reduce, because you could have one mayoral assistant covering more than one mayor. But that's as much as I can possibly crystal ball. Please remind me, Councillor Cope, what was the second part of your question?
Just, you mentioned there was this concept of petitioning the Crown. That's not something I was aware of, so I just wonder how realistic is that, and what would it look like?
I don't have full details. I'm happy to look into it, Councillor Cope, and provide Council with an answer latterly. But my logic would be, if Charter Trustees aren't something that we wanted to provide an expression of interest for to MHCLG now, and the mayoral responsibilities and the civic responsibilities fell away, they'll be far more difficult to reinstate than to continue.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a funny one for me because, of course, my residents, or the residents that I represent at the moment, won't be paying and won't have a precept because I live and represent 2 parished areas. So my understanding is that they aren't covered by this role, and therefore a precept couldn't be levied against them. However, I am very cognitive of the feedback that we had when we looked at introducing parish and town areas from the population of Surrey Heath. And one of the major reasons that they didn't support that was because of the additional precept that a parish or a town council could bring. And I fear that if we were to be supportive of this evening, what we're not doing is listening to the residents of Surrey Heath who didn't want a town or additional town or parish areas created because they were worried about the precept. So I just would like people in the chamber to be mindful of that.
Thank you. Nothing to say. No. Any Councillor Rowlands?
Thank you, Chair. This is, to some extent, a very poor sop for the disenfranchisement of a large section of the borough, which we, 2 Labour members, voted for representation in a proper parish way. As I understand it, perhaps it's a misreading, the existing members of the new council would be the ones that would be coming forward to the posts involved. So even that is not representing broader membership in the involvement in the process. So to some extent, it does really offer nothing to the unparished areas of the council. And I think increasingly, once the new council is in existence, it will become obvious that they've effectively been disenfranchised from the whole process of the operation of the council.
Thank you, Councillor Rowlands. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. So mine are 2 procedural questions. I don't want to get into the debate at this time, if that's okay. So mine are technicality questions I just want to check. And I am mindful that I think Councillor Kang didn't get a chance to introduce the acceptance of the report. But the 2 procedural ones were, I just want to check, I think I heard you say, Mr Stevens, that we've received new information, actually this could cover the whole of the borough. Is that correct? And is that of a decent quality? Because we do seem to get rather mixed messages from the ministry. It wasn't via WhatsApp, was it, for example? And then I have a question for the monitoring officer, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Leader. Yes. So clearly, since the formation of this report and prior to it, we've been trying to glean as much information as we can in relation to Charter Trustees. The current understanding is that the Charter Trustees and the role of Mayor and Deputy Mayor, if adopted, would cover all of the wards within the current Surrey Heath border.
Thank you. I was hoping not to have the unique development opportunity of being Mayor, but I see I may now be back in the frame at some point in the future. Ms Boateng, I wanted to, and I'm conscious I'm getting more than my money's worth today out of you in terms of support, but I just want to check where we are here, because we've got some West Surrey councillors in the room, and potentially we might then be voting on something which we could have a non-pecuniary benefit from. the mayor's obviously a volunteer post, but we would be voting something potentially that we could be the beneficiaries of. And I'm also not sure about the procedural steps after this point in terms of whether this would go to other bodies at West Surrey, and if so, which bodies in due course, and whether by voting today we're causing ourselves problems somewhere else. So I just wanted some clarification as best as you can, because I know this is an evolving feast, some of this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Mayor. So currently it's my understanding that this will need to be considered at the Shadow Authority. So there could potentially be an issue if members vote here and then want to vote in that arena. So to prevent that instance of predetermination, you'll need to decide where you want to place your vote, whether it's here or when it's considered at the Shadow Authority. Thank you.
Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. I wrote a speech and then it's all changed along the way because we've had extra information, which probably would have been handy to have before we came into the chamber. I'm more confused than I was when I came in, to be honest. Anyway, thank you for the officers for pulling together the detailed report. I want to start my remarks tonight by making one thing absolutely clear. I've always been and still am a big supporter of the role of mayor and all the great work they have been doing for over the last 50 years. But the support is not at any cost. We are here to look closely at this proposal actually means to our residents. We all know the recommendation is to request establishment of a charter trustee to preserve the role of mayor and our civic traditions before vesting day. We also know this is our one and only chance to do so. Otherwise, the opportunity disappears completely. The expectation is that the demanding civic role can only be taken on by unitary councillors. These individuals are already incredibly busy in their primary roles for the massive new authority. Asking them to take on the extensive civic duties on top of that workload is a very significant task. This is especially true considering the comments that the Mayor has made this evening about how busy he's been and his deputy have been in the last few months. I would like to understand what the cost implications of this is to the residents of Surrey Heath, whether that be the whole of Surrey Heath or whether that be the unparished areas. We are making proposal tonight to carry on a mayoral role, but with no idea of the actual cost implications. Crucially, we cannot view this financial burden in isolation. Later on tonight's agenda, we were discussing councillor access to local government pensions. Our Section 151 officer has warned that the maximum £69,000 cost of this is unbudgeted pressure that will create an overspend. If we push forward with a charter trustee tonight, we are stacking a new precept on top of a £69,000 base budget overspend. This represents a severe cumulative financial strain. We have all the paper in front of us and we know all the alternatives. Do nothing means we lose the mayor forever. A new town or parish council is off the table, as the recent governance review showed no public demand for it, and another consultation is simply not going to happen. Therefore, we must carefully weigh the preservation of the civic history against the realistic financial and operational burden. And the problem I've got is I don't know what we are going to agree in this chamber is actually going to cost the residents of Surrey Heath. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett. Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Mayor. In light of the new information that we've just gleaned from the monitoring officer, a number of us who are representatives on the West Surrey Council will now need to recuse ourselves from this debate and take no further part, as we will wish to take part in that debate. So myself, Councillor MacDonald, Councillor Wilson and Councillor Olmo would like to recuse ourselves from this debate now to preserve our integrity and no predetermination when it's discussed at West Surrey. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Yeah, Councillor Rake.
Sorry, excuse me, Mayor. I'm also going to excuse myself because I'm a member of West Surrey Council.
I think you have to go too, yes.
Yes, can I be brief as well? Thank you.
No, Mo, you don't have to.
Press the button to the right-hand side.
Sabi, press the button to the right. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for that confusion. This evening, we are not simply discussing like future of the ceremonial office. We are deciding whether Surrey Heath will continue to have a civic identity after local government reorganisation taking place 1st of April 2027. So the Borough Council may cease to exist, but Surrey Heath will not. So our town and villages will still be home to communities that are proud to call Surrey Heath their home. So those communities will still need a civic figure who represents everybody regardless of politics. That is what the mayor does. So the mayor serves as our community's human face. While the new Unity Council will manage our roads and waste, it is the mayor who visits our primary schools to inspire the next generation, who celebrate the 100th birthdays of our residents, welcomes distinguished visitors, and who honours our veterans and the unsung volunteers in our community. So attending carnival shows, resident gardens, army, Sea Cadet prize giving and charity fund prominence. So a prominent figurehead role in Sandhurst military remembrance parades and community celebration, to mention a few. So the office brings people together and recognises those who give so much to our communities. So these responsibilities will not disappear simply because the council structure changes. In fact, at times of change, communities value continuity more than ever. Surrey Heath has always been a borough that looks forward while respecting its traditions. That was demonstrated by the historic election of the borough's first ethnic minority mayor. So that moment was far more than one individual. It showed that civic leadership in Surrey Heath is open to everyone, regardless of ethnicity or heritage, and reflected the diversity and inclusiveness of our borough. So it would be a great irony, just as the office has become more representative of the community it serves, we allow the office itself to disappear. This is not about preserving tradition for tradition's sake. It's about preserving community identity. Across England, where councils have been reorganised, civil mayoralties have often been protected through charter trustees because Parliament recognised that administrative change should not mean the loss of local heritage, civil pride and historic traditions. Surrey Heath deserves the same consideration. So the financial cost of retaining the office is modest. The value it brings is immeasurable. As large unity councils merge, there is a real risk that local identities become less visible. Retaining the mayor ensures that Surrey Heath continues to have its own civic voice and a visible champion for its communities. Future generations should inherit more than a formal council boundary. They should inherit a sense of belonging. They should inherit a civic identity that they can be proud of. Tonight, we have an opportunity to send a clear message. Local government reorganisation may change how services are delivered. It should not raise the identity, traditions and civic pride that generations of residents have built together. So the council may cease to exist, Surrey Heath will not. Its people will remain, its history will remain, its communities will remain. And for those reasons, its civic mayor should remain too. I therefore urge members to support every possible measure to preserve the historic office of the Mayor of Surrey Heath beyond 1st April 2027, ensuring that this borough continues to have a civic heart, a civic voice, and a civic identity for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kang. Councillor Noble.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to build on what Councillor Dr Kang mentioned, whilst the transfer of the business of this and other councils moves to the new West Surrey Unitary Authority, and there won't be a need for a mayor to chair meetings, as the council will be defunct, I just wanted to pause to examine the valuable role that the Mayor of Surrey Heath plays. Over the years, the mayors have attended thousands of local events. They've spotlighted local charities, community organisations. They've celebrated our notable citizens, and they've raised thousands of pounds for local charities. They help foster relations with our twin towns. We do owe a debt of gratitude to those who have stood as mayor and deputy mayor over the years. They've given freely of their time to meet and celebrate our borough and those who live and work here. I've been fortunate enough to accompany past mayors to events in the borough, notably meeting a lady resident at a local nursing home on her 103rd birthday, and she was blown away that the mayor had turned up to see her on her birthday. Her face was just total joy. And that's really important. It's the personal aspect of the community celebrating community, celebrating our residents. And that's a really important role for our local area to have. Someone that can bring joy to our residents, can recognise them, whether they are raising money, whether they are volunteering. We have hundreds of volunteers in our borough, and the mayor plays a very important part in recognising and thanking those volunteers. We also have our mayor recognising sporting achievements of people of all ages and all peoples within the borough. Our mayors have also represented our diversity within our borough. So I think it's really important to have a mayor. They may not have the role of running committee meetings, but they are an important representation of what Surrey Heath is about and who we are as an area and our community identity.
Thank you, Councillor Noble. I believe, Nick, you've got some more detail that may be of use.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is in relation to the question that was raised by yourself, Councillor Garrett, around the costs. So the current costs for facilitating a mayor in Surrey Heath largely relate to salary expenses. Those costs, full-year costs for the mayoral assistant, because it is a part-time role, equate to around about £36,000. On top of that, there is the additional responsibilities allowance for the mayor and deputy mayor. However, I would point out that those don't necessarily translate into West Surrey Council, because the independent remuneration panel hasn't considered whether or not there would be any level of remuneration for mayors or deputy mayors made under this charter trustee process. In addition to that, there is a small budget of £1,400 for various sundries linked to the mayor. That is the totality that our finance colleagues have provided. I think if you translate that across the 36,000 households in Surrey Heath, it's at the very lower level of what is set out in the paper.
Councillor Rakes, then Councillor Rise.
Thank you. Make a small point, which is about charity. A very experienced councillor from this council recently posted, I saw that charities are going to be in need of more money, which is a reason why he's supporting certain actions by a local charity to raise a lot of money in the future. And I just wanted to point out the money that is raised by the mayors each year. And I wanted to ask a question. Councillor Garrett pointed out that the mayoral job is very busy, but my reading of the paper says that the Charter Trustees may appoint a mayor. But my understanding is there's no compulsion to appoint a mayor. So if there is not a mayor who is capable or willing to stand for that work, I assume that then that appointment would not happen. So if Charter Trustees are too busy, I just would like to be confirmed that there is an option that there is no mayor for that year. But by passing this resolution, we would ensure that that option remains open.
Thank you. Councillor Rise.
Thank you, Mayor, and I hope with this you won't be the last Mayor covering Surrey Heath. I just want to address some of the points that have kind of been raised with regard to the community governance review and the decision of this council not to proceed with parish and town councils within the unparished areas, and I agree with them. That wasn't the decision. However, this is not the decision that's before the council this evening. This is for a completely different system, not creating a town council for Camberley and other areas. That would come with the associated costs, as members of the parish areas of Surrey Heath already experience. But it is enabling the continuation of a civic post, which other speakers have spoken about this evening. And Councillor Cope raised the point of, do we have the mandate? I would say we have the mandate to respond to changing situations that happen to us. Surrey Heath, when we were first elected, there was no discussion of Surrey Heath being abolished, no discussion of West Surrey. So it would have been impossible for us to anticipate that. However, what we are able to do as elected representatives, still within our elected term, unlike Surrey County Council, which has gone over its own term, we are still within our democratically elected mandate of 4 years. So I think it's perfectly acceptable for us to move forward with a system that would enable Surrey Heath to have representation of a mayor. And I also think with the precept that, and as Mr. Stevens has just pointed out, would be a very minimal precept, not the precept of around £60 to £70, which was being discussed within the community governance review. So I think it's perfectly acceptable for us to move forward with this. And I think trying to conflate this decision of going against the public's opinion when they came to community governance was a bit disingenuous. Because what I actually do think the people responded to in that community governance review was that they didn't want a town council. But I actually think with the way, and I've seen this over the coming up 8 years of my time in this council, how people respond to the mayor and that position, I think is a good thing to proceed with. And what I would hope is that the parish councils moving forward will adopt the mayoral role and change their chair position to a mayor position. So we would have a mayor of Windlesham, we would have a mayor of Chobham, we would have a mayor of Bagshot and Lightwater. I think that would be a good thing for Surrey Heath to have, so we can have better civic engagement within our borough. And I can hear Councillor Garrett laughing, which is disappointing if he's laughing at the suggestion I'm making. And I don't think that the Charter Trustees as set out should cover the entirety of Surrey Heath, because I think it should be for the unparished areas, which is the intention of this report, rather than the parish areas which already have that in place. So I'm very happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rise.
Thank you, Mayor. It's just touching on a point that's actually raised by Councillor Rakes, which I think he raised a fairly good point of the fact that if obviously councillors find that they are overwhelmed with work and that there isn't enough time in that potential council year to have a mayor, you potentially don't need one. My concern, though, is that we could potentially still, or I say the council at the time, will still be collecting a precept for a position which no one is filling. Is that not disingenuous to the residents that we're taking their money and not actually fulfilling a role? So for me, that is a great concern.
Thank you, Josh. Beg your pardon?
Sorry, I have already spoken, so wrong person. So I'm aware that I can't speak again, but I would just like to ask a point of order because I am now totally confused.
And your point of order is?
So my point of order is I'm not sure what we're being asked to vote on. So during the course of this evening, we've been told that it may or may not cover parished areas. So are we being asked to vote on the paper as it sits in front of us, which is that it is just for the non-parished areas, or are we being asked to vote on a mayor that would cover all areas of Surrey Heath? Or is it possibly, given that we're not clear, not the right time to vote on any of it?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. You're right, we do need an element of clarification here. Our current belief, based on the research that we've undertaken, and apologies to Councillor Garrett that we didn't supply this in advance of the meeting, this has been difficult to research. Our current belief is it covers all wards within the Surrey Heath Borough Council as it currently exists. Equally, given the question that was raised around the governance processes here, we probably need to consider an amendment to the recommendation that's before you. So the proposal that we currently have drafted is that we would ask for Council to resolve that a request for the establishment of a Charter Trustee of Surrey Heath, as set out in Annex A to this report, be put to the Executive of West Surrey Council for consideration. Subject to West Surrey Council Executive approval, a request to the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government be submitted. I hope that helps clarify.
Thank you. Councillor White, do you have a question?
I'm so sorry, I'm still not quite clear. So are we amending this proposal to say that it's covering the whole of Surrey Heath, rather than as written in the paper, and does a member need to propose that amendment and then to have it seconded?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. That would be a yes and a yes.
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to propose that amendment.
Councillor Rice, do you have a second? Councillor Rakes, thank you.
I'm happy to second.
So now I believe we vote on the
Mr Mayor, as set out in the Constitution, I move to an immediate vote on the recommendation of the amendment.
What I was about to say. The recommendation as amended.
So my understanding is that we
just on the point of order, it would be on the. I believe we would now have to vote on the amendment to the recommendation.
Pardon? I thought so. Councillor White.
Before the amendment was put forward, I put my hand up to actually ask, if this is such an important item for the borough, should we not go out to consultation and ask the members of the borough whether this is what they want?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Unfortunately, due to the timescales that's been imposed on us by government to respond to this question, there isn't time to go out to consultation, and there's no legal requirement to either. So unfortunately, there isn't time. Thank you.
We are just checking on the procedure. Okay, as I understand it, we have had an amendment proposed and seconded. We now have to debate that amendment. Councillor Rise, do you wish to speak to your amendment?
No.
Councillor Rakes?
No.
That was good, thank you. Any other member? Councillor Garrett.
Okay, it's going to be very simple, okay, because in a minute we're going to vote. So I just want a total 100% clarification. When we vote, because this is key for me whether I vote for it or against it, okay, so I need to understand this. When we vote, are we voting for this to be for the whole of Surrey Heath and the precept to be for the whole of Surrey Heath? It's a very simple question for me, and I would make my decision based on that answer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Garrett. We believe on the research that we have undertaken, this would cover all of the wards, all 9 wards for West Surrey Council within the Surrey Heath area. In relation to the precept, I cannot answer that question because clearly that will be a decision for the Charter Trustees should they be appointed after 1 year.
Just to put a clarification in. So it's based on your feelings, based on what you've seen. If further down the line we see that that's not correct, does that mean this vote tonight is null and void?
No, that's not our understanding. So if you vote tonight for it, then it's just purely to express this council's confirmation that it wants government to allow us to, if West Surrey agree, to have a Charter of Trustees going forward.
I'm going to do point of clarification again. I totally understand that, but the way I feel is if it was for the whole of Surrey Heath, I'd be likely to vote for it. If it's not, I'm likely to vote against it. So you're telling me you think, based on all the information you've got, it's the whole of Surrey Heath. But if you then come back to me and say it's not, then I don't want to vote for it. So unfortunately, we need to make a decision in this chamber tonight, whether it's for the whole of Surrey Heath or not, as per the original paper. And I know, looking at some of my other colleagues, that they possibly feel the same. They may not be on the other side of the chamber, but certainly on this side of the chamber.
So thank you, Mayor. So I believe what members can do today is, if they're minded, vote so that we can put forward an expression of interest to government for the establishment of Charter Trustees. If it transpires at a later stage that it does in fact cover parished areas and unparished areas, the point you're raising, Councillor Garrett, then we can bring it back here for that decision to be made again. For the further decision to be made, do we now still want to go forward, now that we know that it covers the whole area?
So are you saying that we're going to vote on just the non-parished areas in this?
It would be voting for all areas, but we can come back and clarify that point.
May I ask a point of clarification now? I'm sorry to belabor the fact, but I want to get, as Councillor Garrett, I want to get... Can I just confirm with the Monitoring Office that it is the government's decision on whether a Charter Trustee is established, not, sorry, we are, even before you gave that previous response, we would have been expressing an interest to establish it. The Ministry of Housing, Community and Local Government would have then been the decision maker as to create it or not. So it wouldn't have... So no matter what we decided tonight, whether it's all of Surrey Heath or just the unparished areas, the decision would be at the government level rather than us.
So you're right, the final decision is with government, but they will follow what this council wants to do. So if this council votes not to go forward, then they won't, the government won't take it forward either, if that makes sense.
It does, and I apologise. So so the understanding is that the decision would be to cover the entirety of Surrey Heath, as the Chief Executive set out, and it would only then come back to us if the government said it only covers the unparished areas. Is that correct? Thank you.
Councillor Quinn, online, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just a couple of points of clarification and then a question to add. I think during the debate, I heard some members say that the unparished areas of the borough didn't want parish or town councils because of an extra precept. But actually, I think in the consultation that we did, quite a lot of the unparished areas, I think including Camberley, actually supported a town council. And I'll agree the response wasn't enthusiastic or overwhelming, but actually it was in favour, and therefore I think that's worth putting on the record. My question really is about just go back to the precepts. How certain are officers that the money raised through that would just be linked to the mayoral role and its responsibilities? Or could that be applied more broadly in terms of charging Surrey Heath residents to raise more money for other purposes, for instance? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Quinn.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Quinn, for the question. I think it's important to point out that the Community Governance Review for the unparished areas, there was a mix of views, those in support and equally those that weren't, but they were very limited in number, and therefore we didn't feel there was a meaningful mandate in either direction. In relation to the precept for Charter Trustees, it solely relates to those civic responsibilities and nothing else.
Councillor Cope.
Thank you. Just on the amendment. So when the papers were put forward, we were going direct to government and expressing our interest. We're now told that we have to go via West Surrey in order to express our interest. I'm not quite clear what has necessitated that change. And it feels to me like what we're being asked to vote on is becoming increasingly far removed from the papers I read earlier in the week and prepared for on this meeting. So it seems slightly dissatisfactory, the gap between what I came to this meeting thinking I was asked to be considering and what I'm now being asked to consider without having had opportunity to weigh up the pros and cons. So that's just a point. But I would just really like to understand what's necessitated the addition of the middleman, effectively.
So 2 points there, Councillor Quinn. The first one, for which you have my personal apologies in terms of the clarity. As I expressed at the start of this, myself and Ms Boateng have been trying to understand the legislation, which is very basic and doesn't really assist, and then trying to understand the interpretation through other charter trustee approaches across around about 18 other regions. That has meant that the report, as was drafted, isn't effectively what I'm expressing to you, but the only substantial change is the fact that whereas the report cited that the charter trustees would only relate to unparished areas, in fact now we feel and believe that the legislation allows it to cover all of the wards across Surrey Heath. That is the only notable change from my perspective in terms of what you're being asked to consider. The second point, Councillor Quinn, apologies, you'll have to remind me what that was.
I'm Councillor Cope, and
I'm sorry, Councillor Cope. I'm very sorry.
It was why the change now that we're saying we have to go and ask West Surrey to go to government, whereas before we were going straight to government. I didn't quite follow the logic of why that had been added in.
Yes, I fully understand that point as well, and apologies for forgetting what it was and equally your name. We are navigating Section 24, which is quite complex, and I don't think any of us as officers or indeed the councillors that are involved in West Surrey Council understood the complexity of Section 24 and what that would mean. We would need to refer to West Surrey Council for further consideration. And even with the general consents that have been put in place twice now to try and simplify matters, this is one that unfortunately we did not consider. This report was drafted a while ago. It's taken a while to come to council. And during that time, clearly, we haven't reconsidered the recommendation. But ultimately, whatever you consider today has to then go to West Surrey Council for their subsequent consideration.
Thank you. As a chair of anything, you sometimes need to sum things up. So I've listened to what's been said, totally uninterested because I'm not going to be here. But as I understand it, we are being asked to suggest what we would like to happen. What we would like to happen will be decided after we are gone by West Surrey Council and ultimately the government. We're talking about a precept that is probably less than £1 per year per council taxpayer. Please correct me, officers, if I've said anything wrong in that.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to clarify, yes, the precept will be relatively low based on current costs if a precept is applied. I think that's the important thing to say.
Councillor Wheeler, and then I'm going to take a vote.
Thank you. I haven't spoken on the amendment, so and I know I asked the question about whether or not I could some time ago. Surrey Heath was formed in 1974, 1973 about the amalgamation of Frimley and Camberley Urban District and Bagshot Rural District Councils. I have lived in Surrey Heath for longer than 1974. And I can't say I really miss those councils or not having the head of those councils representing me at Surrey Heath. Given that the parish areas have a parish council with the chair of the parish council who is very involved in local events and very involved with local charities and with a good, very local knowledge, I really couldn't, in all faith, vote for something which is, quite frankly, as clear as mud as we sit in this chamber at the moment. And there's absolutely no criticism whatsoever inferred on the officers who have tried to bring this together under a very hasty timescale. But we simply don't really have clarity. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We're not absolutely sure exactly what we're voting for. We weren't even at one point sure on where our vote was going to go to. I don't actually feel we're ready to make that vote at this time, but I appreciate I won't get support for a deferment, so I won't go for one. But we've been criticised in the past for voting in this chamber for things that have turned out to be a bit of a white elephant, no pun on the white elephant that represents Surrey Heath. And that was the Houses Fraser building, as I knew it, or Army and Navy building, whatever it's called this decade. And we didn't have sufficient knowledge on that when we were asked to vote, and we certainly don't have sufficient knowledge on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kang.
Thank you, Chair. I haven't spoken on the amendment. I mean, I'm quite clear that this is for the whole of Surrey Heath, and the precept we're looking is very low. Even on section 5.2, it's saying about £2 to £4. And it's an option that we have to take, and obviously it has to go through West Surrey Council because of the section 24, and then it's the government who makes the decision. To me, it's quite clear. Okay, so it's an option that we must take.
Thank you. We must now put this to bed. So we have Councillor Rice's amendment, whether this should apply. Sorry, no.
Please
No.
can I have a recorded vote?
Yeah, if you like, yes. Are there two others? Yes, excellent, thank you. Whether this amendment is made to extend the idea to all of the boroughs in Surrey Heath.
Mayor, I apologise for interrupting you. Is that the amendment it is to be submitted to West Surrey, not that it covers all of it is already covering all of Surrey Heath. The amendment is that it is submitted to West Surrey Shadow Authority Executive.
With the understanding it covers all of the borough.
If I may, I'm sorry. As Mr. Stevens set out, based on their understanding, as it was originally proposed, it would always have covered all of Surrey Heath. The amendment is that this decision is then referred to West Surrey, for there then not to also include all of Surrey Heath. It already includes all of Surrey Heath. Yes.
So the amendment is as on the screen. So a recorded vote, as requested by Councillor Garrett. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
No, recorded.
No?
So we will do the recorded vote now.
Recorded vote. Oh, you yell it out. Yes, thank you. Sorry, I'm used to other places.
Thank you, Ms Mayor. So I will read out your names in alphabetical order, and if you could indicate if you're for, against, or if you're abstaining. So Councillor Alan Ashbury. Oh, he's left the room. Yeah, good start. Councillor Louise Ashbury. Councillor Cliff Betton.
For.
Councillor Johnny Cope.
Against.
Councillor Kel Finan-Cook.
For.
Councillor Sean Garrett.
Against.
Councillor Mary Glowett. Councillor Mark Gordon. Councillor Julie Hode. Councillor Dave Hoff.
For.
Councillor Nirmal Kang.
For.
Councillor Sabi Kang. For. Councillor Emma Jane McGrath.
Against.
Councillor Liz Noble.
For.
Councillor David O'Mahony.
For.
Councillor Bob Rakes.
For.
Councillor Murray Rowlands. Councillor Morgan Rise.
For.
Councillor John Skipper. Councillor Josh Thorne.
Against.
Councillor Ying Tom Perrott.
For.
Councillor Victoria Wheeler.
Against.
Councillor David Whitcroft.
For.
Councillor Helen Whitcroft.
For.
Councillor Valerie White.
Against.
Rachel's going to...
The result is 17 for, 7 against, and no abstentions. The amendment is thus carried.
Thank you, Ms Mayor. Just to revise, as you've just said, the information on the screen is now the substantive motion.
So now we continue to debate the motion. Does anybody have anything else to say? Councillor Cope.
Can I just ask, we're referring in the motion to Annex A. Annex A says it only applies to Camberley. So do we need to change Annex A?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Cope. It will be as amended.
Who proposed? Who's going to propose? as amended? Have we? No.
Okay, thank you, Mr Mayor. So unless any other councillor wishes to speak, it would be then for Councillor Nermal Kang to have a final right of reply, unless, of course, obviously through you, Mayor, if there's anyone else who wishes to speak.
Councillor Kang.
Thank you, Chair. After the substantial motion being passed, this motion really is, as I said, it's about having identity, the local identity, and the mayor being the human face. And I mean, this option is something that we certainly need, but it's going to be decided by the government. If we don't take the option at the moment, we've got no choice. So, you know, I would ask every member to make sure that we've got that option open. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kang. Does anybody else wish to add anything? No? Are we having a recorded vote on this? No? Sure? A show of hands then, please. All those in favour? Against? Any abstentions? Members, I declare the vote carried. Can we please let the naughty boys in from outside? Item 9, councillors' entitlement to access the LG pension scheme. I propose that the recommendation in the report that we amend the members' allowances scheme at Part 6 of the Constitution to reflect the change in rules to allow councillors access to the pension scheme. Do I have a seconder?
Second the motion.
Do any members wish to speak to this item? Councillor Thorne.
Apologies, Mayor. It's more just a point of clarification, if I may. I'm not sure if I've got a pecuniary interest potentially in this. I'm a civil servant at the moment, so I'm paying into a government pension, but I'm not sure if that is taken into, has an effect with this vote being a local government pension. But I just thought if I could get some
thank you.
Thank you.
Noted.
Thank you, Mayor. You can declare a non-pecuniary interest and still participate and vote. Thank you.
Councillor Cope, you.
Yeah, thank you. It's just a question, probably for the monitoring officer. I'm always slightly sceptical when I get these papers and I'm told that there are no alternative options. So what happens if we don't vote for this? Because my basic position is I don't think councillors should be able to join the pension scheme, but I don't think we have control over that. But what happens if we vote no on this motion? What's the outcome?
Thank you, Mayor. So what this paper is explaining is that there's been a change in legislation which enables members to become to join the pension scheme it's completely up to members whether they then actually join individually, but this just enables us to do what we need to do in terms of administration and opening it up so that we're complying with the change in legislation, if that makes sense.
Sorry, but what would be the consequence if we didn't do this, is I guess my question.
The consequence of not doing this would mean that the the members' allowance scheme, as in the Constitution, would be incorrect. It wouldn't be in alignment with what the legislation says.
Councillor Hode.
Thank you, Mayor. So if I understand correctly, we have no input over whether councillors are now allowed to join the pension scheme. We have no input on whether over individual councillors decide to join a pension scheme. We are simply saying we agree or do not agree that the council should be able to update its documentation in order to accurately reflect the current situation. And if we reject it, then we'll have inaccurate documentation.
That's exactly right. Thank you. Yes, that's correct.
So, members, seeing as how we have no choice, are we all agreed? Thank you. Item 10, Community Governance Review Working Group. I would like to invite the Chief Executive to introduce the report of the Community Governance Review Working Group.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep this brief. My thanks again go to Ms Boateng and Ms Willis for their preparation of this paper and the terms of reference. I won't go into great detail. The Community Governance Review terms of reference have been prepared to set out the way in which officers and councillors will work towards the changes to Windlesham Parish Council, which will be brought around by the Community Governance Order. The terms of reference set out the legal basis under which officers and councillor representatives from the parish and borough councils will work, and the terms of reference propose 2 councillors from each authority. However, you will see in section 3 there has been a request for 3 representatives on behalf of Windlesham Parish Council, and that's important to outline. The recommendation is on the screen before you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Stevens. I would like to invite comments on the report and ask for a member to move a motion in respect of the report. Anyone have any comments? Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to propose an amendment to the motion, and that is that in point 5, do we have to have the... Okay.
Yeah.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Constitution says there's to be no debate until the motion is proposed and seconded. Thank you.
So you propose it and a second.
Yeah. Councillor Hode.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to propose the officer report and amend it and do reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hode. Do you have a second?
I would like to second and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perrott. Speak to your motion, Councillor Hode. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The text of my proposed amendments is being distributed currently. I'll wait a few seconds till that's happened. Oh, it's up on the screen. But technology is a wonderful thing. I do welcome the officer report, thank you, and I would absolutely like to thank all of those involved in its preparation. It's not a small task. We've had a long and sometimes acrimonious journey to reach this point, but we now enter the stage of this process where the focus is on moving forward smoothly in executing the will of the people of the parish of Windlesham, and in particular those of Windlesham Village. This requires defining the terms of reference for the working group, and it is so important to set the right tone for this. A tone that places residents at the centre of everyone's thinking, that maintains continuity of important services for residents, and is based on leadership behaviours of collaboration, fairness and trust. To enable this, As well as accepting the vast majority of the officer report recommendations, I would like to propose some minor amendments relating specifically to sections 5 and 6. And these are on the paper that has been circulated and is up on the screen above us. These amendments provide clarity, show leadership support for the programme, and hopefully encourage the spirit of collaboration that we're all aiming for through this period of local government change. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Perrott.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to support the proposal that Councillor Hood has given, and in the interest of time would be speaking further to replicate the justification for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, does anyone have any comments? Councillor Cope.
Thanks. Yeah, just on the amended proposal, I'm not hugely comfortable with the concept of us dictating to Windlesham Parish Council the eligibility of its representatives and saying that they have to come from certain areas. That should surely be up to the Parish Council. It seems to me that this Borough Council doesn't want to work with the Parish Council, it wants to do things to it on the basis of this proposal. So I was pretty comfortable with what was in the papers initially, but I don't like this amendment.
Thank you. Any other? Councillor Wilson, then Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mayor. I was very glad when this council approved the final recommendations of the Community Governance Review, which will create a separate parish for the village of Windlesham. So thank you all. Thank you, Council. This council offered to the existing Windlesham Parish Council the opportunity to have two of its members on a collaborative working group to oversee the disaggregation. Instead of choosing members to represent broad public interests, they chose two Lightwater Tories. Of course they did. Of course they did. They have opposed the will of the public on this right from the start. They have even used public money to oppose this. They were nominated in order to continue this opposition. The Parish Council does not consider the interests of Bagshot or Windlesham on this matter, as usual. The previously agreed village committees, where each village could decide on some of their own matters, have recently been abolished. This is so the majority can overrule the members from Windlesham Village more easily. It is the opposite of what the public demand. The Parish Council is failing the public and cannot be abolished soon enough. Their decision on working group representation is just another example of the anti-democratic and toxic state it has reached. I support this proposal and the requirement for the two Parish Council representatives to include one from Windlesham Village wards. Please can we have people who can act in good faith and recognise the clearly expressed will of the people. I do not recommend accepting the Parish Council's request for a third representative, for obvious reasons. There will be Parish Council elections next May, when the electorate will decide who they want to represent them. The current majority on Windlesham Parish Council seem determined to act like the Billingdon Club, trashing the place before they are thrown out. I wish the working group well.
Sorry, Councillor Wilson, the legal officer wishes to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm very unhappy with the comments that you've just made in a public forum. I think that brings into the frame potential code of conduct issues. So can I ask you to not make those comments again? And I don't know if you've finished your speech, but not continue. I don't use the reference to toxic or anything that's derogatory to the Parish Council. I don't think that's reasonable or in line with the spirit of the behaviour of an elected member or the code of conduct.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to follow that advice. I've got one line left and I'm sure it will be objected to.
Thank you. One line left.
Thank you. I wish the working group well and look forward to a brighter future for the two new parishes. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do welcome talks about democracy. And I do feel that having had the CGR accepted that one of the best things to do is to give the parish council a voice. And I was at the parish council meeting where this was discussed. I remained for the whole of the parish council meeting, having been elected to represent Windlesham at a parish level. The council felt very strongly that it should have one member from each of the current village committee areas. So one from Bagshot, one from Lightwater, and one from Windlesham. So that is the amendment that I would like to make, on the basis that that was supported at the Windlesham Parish Council meeting. That point 5 is changed to say 3 parish councils appointed by Windlesham Parish Council from each of the original, so from each village. I also would like to ask those who are responsible for appointing the Windlesham Parish Council area councillor, as we've got such a long chat about democracy, to think about the political representation in that area, and maybe that is something that should be considered in the appointment of the member from the borough. Thank you.
Okay.
You probably need to clarify exactly what the amendment was.
Councillor Wheeler, your proposed amendment, could we have the exact
Absolutely,
wording?
sorry. So my opposed amendment is to change 2 parish councillors appointed by Windlesham Parish Council to 3 parish councillors appointed by Windlesham Parish Council, 1 representative from each of the parish council areas, e.g. Windlesham, Bagshot and Lightwater. So not lumping together Bagshot and Lightwater.
Do you have a seconder? Which one? Councillor Garrett?
I'm happy to second the motion and reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. Do you want to speak on your amendment, Councillor Wheeler?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, you did your speech.
I think I've just said enough.
Okay. Councillor Garrett.
Thank you, and mine will be very brief. I'm happy to second the motion. It is only fair that, bearing in mind 2 of the 3 parish councils did not want to be part of the divorce, there should be representation from each of the councils to be involved in divorce discussion moving forward.
Thank you. Members? Anybody? Councillor White.
It's actually just a point of clarification on Councillor Wilson's comment that the 2 councillors that were nominated by Windlesham Parish Council are Tories. One is an independent, and he is not even a card-carrying member of the Conservative Party and is staunchly independent. So I would like that comment removed, please.
Thank you, Councillor White. Any comments or questions on the amendment, Councillor Rise?
Thank you. I won't be supporting the amendment by Councillor Wheeler because the reality is that this parish council, and we have spent a lot of time in this council discussing this parish council, is being split into 2. So I think it's actually quite appropriate that, as the original proposal by Councillor Hode, there will be a representative from each of the new areas that will be parish councils. 1 from Windlesham, 1 from Bagshot and Lightwater. That is what the outcome of the CGR is. The continual fighting between representatives from Windlesham Parish Council as it currently stands is tiring. It is tiresome to listen to, it is tiresome to watch. It's time that we move on with this and enact what has been decided as a result of the Community Governance Review, which was clear that Windlesham wished to leave the other 2. I think it's time we just get on with it, rather just, instead of continuing to argue and backbite each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rise. Anyone else?
Point of order. I think it's actually out of order for members to continue to laugh and snigger at people after they've made contributions to this council, and I believe that would not be in line with the Code of Conduct, monitoring officer.
Councillor Garrett.
Point of order. Councillor Garrett has spoken.
What do you want to say? Tell me.
That's fine. I would just like to apologise for laughing. I just wanted to say I agree with Councillor, because I was just going to say I'm happy to apologise. I agree that we want to spend no more time speaking about Windlesham Parish Council in this chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Ying.
Thank you, Mayor. As a Bisley Parish Councillor myself, as well as a Borough Councillor, what we and all of the councillors, other councillors in Bisley Parish Council being independent except myself, when I'm there, I'm a parish councillor, but when I'm here, I'm a borough councillor. But sometimes and it's so important that we work well, that these lines are clear, and when I'm there and they ask me questions about the borough, I stand as borough councillor. So I don't understand what's the fighting about, because I believe that working together is so important to make the whole council work, whether it's parish or borough. Thank you.
We are now voting on the amendment, yeah? Councillor Hode, do you wish to finish up?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd really just like to reiterate what Councillor Rice said. The review has resulted in a decision that the current Windlesham Parish Council will split into two parish councils, like Water and Bagshot and Windlesham. It's therefore appropriate that each of those two new bodies puts one person into this process. There is no justification for having two from one new council and one from another. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we take the vote. Oh, Councillor White.
I did speak before, but it wasn't on the motion. It was just on a clarification. I would just like to say that Bagshot and Lightwater would like to wish Windlesham Village Council all the best. There is no animosity. We're happy that you are going your own way, and we wish you well in that. So I would like to dispute the argument that's been put forward that it's toxic and things take place that shouldn't. Maybe you should come, some of you should actually come to our parish council meetings. They're not, as they've been put in the press, fight club. I don't remember anything like that. Maybe I've just got a short memory.
Thank you. Now let's vote. Yes, the amendment, as highlighted up there, 2 to 3. Okay, so we are voting on whether to go to 3 parish councillors instead of 2. Yes? Correct. All those in favour of going to 3 parish councillors? Thank you. All those against? Any abstentions? 1, 2. Thank you, councillors. The amendment is not carried. We now go back to the substantive motion. The original motion.
As amended by Councillor.
Yes, by Councillor Hode.
The one that's on the screen.
Which is up there on the screen. Okay, all in favour of the motion as amended by Councillor Hode? Those against? 5. Any abstentions? No. The motion is, as amended, is carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 7, questions from councillors. I would like now to invite members to ask questions of the leader, a portfolio holder, a committee chair, or indeed me as mayor. Councillor Garrett.
Not a question, Mayor, just a comment. I would like to ask you or in the minutes, to make note that before I came here, I went to Camberley Judo Club. They were having a celebration because they are just off to the Commonwealth Games, where they have got, at Camberley Judo Club, they have some Kiwis, but they also have some representatives for England, Scotland, and I think Ireland as well. So I think just send some, hopefully congratulations to the Camberley Judo team. Thank you.
Perhaps we can invite them here to display their medals when the games are over. Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions for anyone? Councillor Wheeler.
Thank you. I'm sure that everyone is aware of the blight of fly tipping that continues within our borough. Hook Mill Lane has been subject to fly tipping virtually every single week for some prolonged period of time. And I wondered if I could have assurance, please, that the council is going to continue to pursue convictions, particularly bearing in mind that within the latest fly tip, there are 2 very clear addresses. And I would also like to know, we had a great fanfare in this chamber some time ago with a successful prosecution. And I would just like to know how many prosecutions, we have pursued and how many have been successful in the last 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Ashbury.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Wheeler. It is the intention of the enforcement team to continue to, where possible, raise prosecutions against fly tipping. In fact, we had a successful one fairly recently. I don't have the details in front of me, but it's in the last time period that you referenced, and we'll continue to do so. It is a blight on our borough, and where we need to, we will ensure that we deploy the mobile cameras that we have in hotspot areas, and we will rigorously go after the offenders once they are identified. Thank you.
If I could come back and request a mobile camera in Hook Mill Lane, it would be very much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Councillor Wheeler. Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Walking down the centre of the road in our road was a Cramley group who were walking on the centre of the road because the access to the pavement was blocked. Now, this is not an unusual circumstance in the borough. Certainly in the area I live, and reports from other people as well, on pavement parking is becoming a real problem in the borough. And I just wonder whether that could be taken on board. I know that I had an indication that it was an insoluble problem, but I don't think that's good enough. On that side of a whole family, and we're talking about 7 or 8 of them, an extended family in the centre of our road, while alongside them were all these vehicles parked, prompted me to ask the question whether we can't do something about it.
Thank you, Councillor Rowlands. Councillor Ashbury.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the question, Councillor Rowlands. I personally, to share your concerns, I'm a little bit long in the tooth to be pushing my own children in a buggy now, but I do have grandchildren, so I am aware of that. Plus, my father-in-law is wheelchair bound, so I am aware how difficult it becomes. The government did have a consultation, which I believe is now closed, on whether or not that should be enforced. But I did read a paper yesterday that said up and down the country, 50% of local authorities allow parking on the pavement, even going so far as to marking parking areas, part on the road, part on the pavement, to combat other issues with the width of the roads and our reliance as a society on motor vehicles. So it's not an easy problem to unwind. We will have to look at what comes out of any proposed changes to the legislation on what enforcement action can be taken. I have discussed this with the police, and they will not take enforcement action because it is unclear whether or not it is actually illegal to do so. So we need that clarification, and as I say, at the moment, a number of local authorities up and down the country actively encourage it. So we need national guidance on it, which we can then enforce against. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ashbury. Any other questions for officers, chairs, anyone? No? Then that concludes the business of the meeting. Thank you all for coming. I was hoping for 9 o'clock and it's 10 past, so given the complexity of the issues, not too bad. Thank you very much.